yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Or like, what's his name? Oh, Tony McKenzie. If anyone knows about McKenzie. Back. No, I like Tony. He's got a great YouTube channel. He is the only one that when he does gear reviews, he's actually taking the merchandise apart so you know what they're made of. But anyways, I digress. The whole point of this is about I'm going to restring. I don't have to put my high E on because we did that at Monday's gig. So we're going to get her cleaned up as well. And let's see. So let me first explain why I've been doing this technique with the wraparound. Let's see if I could do this. Oh, it won't do. Okay. So let's kind of focus on this. Okay. So, as you can see, I was always not a big fan of this. And the last maybe half a year now, maybe even a year, I've been doing this because I did a couple of research on this and just coming up with ways to avoid string breakage. One of them, and this does help, having the saddle, the roller saddle bridge. And I don't know if you can see this. Those are rollers. Let's see if I can do this, guys. There you go. Those are rollers. Maybe I could do a little more zoom in. Me and technology, we're not really the best of friends. There you go. So, could you see that? These right here are rollers. They're not the little notches. And actually, this is good because you can see even better with the wraparound. There's a little secret to this. Well, here, let me explain why I started to do this. Again, to avoid string breakage. And what I have noticed is that it's harder for me to push down on your treble strings, even on the bass strings, as opposed to just coming here and just, the way you would normally restring. Okay, in theory, and this is what I believe, I could be wrong, but when I'm coming through here, wrapping it around, and when everything is, tuned, it's nice and tight here, so I don't really have a whole lot of wiggle. So you can't do little tricks like you normally would do between the bridge and the stop bar tailpiece, because it's a little bit too tight. But what I've noticed, it does take a lot longer for these strings to break than normal. And that's because nothing is wiggling. And again, it does help having the roller saddles. Especially when you're playing in anywhere, not just down here in Southwest Florida, but when you're anywhere, if you're outside, summertime, even up in the Midwest. I used to do a lot of gigs up there when we were still living up there. The humidity is just horrendous. So with this, it seems to help not break the strings, and that's why I do it. And so far so good. I've been having good luck with it. Now I'm going to show you here. I got to loosen, not my high E string though. All 5 strings except the high E. The locking tuners. This has this Gibson has the Grover locking tuners. And here's my thought on locking tuners. The first time I've had them, and I still have it with the Camelot guitar, the Spurzels, I think they're cool, but I'm still old school and used to when we didn't have all that. Because I still do a wraparound on the tuning peg, which I will show you once I get focused on the headstock. For right now, I'm going to focus a lot on the bridge, because there's a little trick I learned that I continue to do since I've been doing the wraparound. But the locking tuners, in my opinion, they work best just when you're restringing the guitar, and just to hold the strings in place. That's just my opinion. and it really does not help the guitar stay in tune. You know, it makes it a little bit more convenient. The downside is you got to really loosen your tune on your tuning peg, that little locking screw. You got to loosen it pretty much all the way, because if you don't, when you go to feed the string through, it's like you can't get it through the socket, the little the eye socket, because the locking mechanism in the tuner, it almost prevents it from getting through. So that's the downside. You know, back in the day, before there was any of these locking tuners, you just have your wraparounds. You know, those worked. There's no problems. Everything's a problem now. You notice that? Okay. I do have some pencil, so I'm gonna, when I restring it through the nut, I'm gonna put some pencil lead. Okay. Matter of fact, let me grab the pencil out. Here, I know I do. Yes, I do. Yep. I'll put it on here. Let's see. What is this? What says soft? Good old. I don't know if it says number 2. It just says soft. I can't see it there. Maybe it's a number 3. Who knows? Right? It's not focusing. Good old number 2 pencil. Proof that trees do poop. That's where number 2 pencils come from. Anyway, I digress. So, what I normally do is I cut these strings so I can feed them through the stop bar piece. What you're going to notice, looks like a mess there, okay? This is where a trick I learned. I forget who. The guy was really cool about this. I liked his advice. See if I can use. When I restring it, see how I got that other ball end? I'm going to show you why I do this. I think I've explained this before, because all this wraparound that's here, if I don't put the ball end there, then some of the sharp edge will come piercing out here. And when you go to wrap around, it'll be sticking up a little bit. So if you rest your hand to do palm muting here, you start to cut up your hand a little bit there. So by adding that ball end right there, it helps. It helps to push your threading back a little bit more inside here. This is why I got a little baggie filled with ball ends, so I always have extra. Because at our gig Monday, I had to do a string change, and of course, it was kind of dark. You know what I mean? Can't see. The only thing here is, yeah, there we go. We got this mat at one of the last trade shows at the Lee Civic Center here in Lee County. Now they're not, it sounds like they're not going to, if anyone knows about the Fort Myers area, the Lee Civic Center, I guess, it was very old. It's been a staple in the Lee County for decades, maybe a century, who knows. They were going to tear it down. Now it sounds like they're going to just invest money and fix it, because pretty soon they're going to have their 100th anniversary with the Lee County fairgrounds. So obviously if it's been at the Lee Civic Center, well, it makes the Lee Civic Center 100 years old. Okay, so I have to do this. Okay. I have the door closed because the cat likes to play with the strings. Our older cat, we call him Bugs. He used to do that back up in Chicago. Actually, when we were living in Aurora, Naperville area. The last place we lived before we relocated down here to Southwest Florida. Okay. So, got that done. This is something I've been using, God, since 79. Fast frets. I've been using, no, not this one. This didn't last that long, but this brand since maybe 79, maybe 1980. But very, very long time. Before some have been born, put it that way. And I know maybe there's other products work better. This works, you stick with things that you're used to. Okay, so maybe I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see this guy. I'll zoom in when I get here. Okay, sorry guys. There we go. Put that here. Yeah, so we got this mat. It was actually at the gun show. And, if you could clean your gun, perfect length for a guitar. And it actually, I'll show it to you when I get to that second. This happens to be the layout of the AR-15, which actually, AR is the guy's initials. But everyone has their own opinions. But before you start condemning something, I think maybe you should understand what you're condemning, right? You learn something new every day. No harm in not having things right all the time. Trust me. So yeah, this works great. Little fast frets. And do a little polish on the guitar. I think Gibson just did another reissue of what's called Greenie, the Greenie Les Paul, which is Peter Green's Les Paul with the out of phase, the neck pickup. You see, the neck pickup is actually flipped. So when you put the switch in the middle, you get the out of phase. And it's in more of a matte finish. I think this version is the affordable, and it's Gibson, so it's not Epiphone. I'm sure Epiphone will come out. Gibson will issue one for Epiphone as well. But it is a Gibson, and I guess the people have been complaining. They're like, hey man, how can we afford, give us something that we could afford. So this particular, the new version of the Gibson Greenie, Peter Green model, I think comes in at maybe $3,000, $2,700, something like that. I think it is in the 3,000 range. The next one up to that, which is a bit more on the premium side, is 20,000, and the one that is goes for like 50,000. Because the original Peter Green Les Paul, I think now Kirk Hammett owns from Metallica. Well, Gary Moore had that guitar, and I know they had the Gary Moore signature model because that was one of them I was thinking about getting before I picked this one. But what I like about this is that when I have the switch in the middle, I get just your regular, what we used to call the Gibson sound. When I want the out of phase, I pull that up, I get the out of phase sound. And then the coil tapping adds more to it as well. But that's when you see me when I'm playing Since I've Been Loving You, that one midsection, or that little phrasing, that's why I pop that. Or when I'm playing my instrumental version of The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, And when my guitar is going to sing the vocal melody, that's when I pull up and then pop it down. And now it could be a little bit tricky with these. These are what's called the top hat knobs, but you just take your fingernail and pop it. You know, pop it. You don't have to hit it hard. And it's been working on this guitar for, geez, January. Yeah, January of next year. We've had this guitar for 10 years. This is a 2013 model, so this guitar, in reality, is 10 years old from being manufactured. Okay, now I do that just to top real kind of quickly, because at the end of the gigs I'm always wiping them anyways, and it's right in this area and then in the back of the neck when I'm playing that gets sweated up. Yeah, the other Peter Green guitars, the 20,000 and 50,000 has the gloss finish. The $3,000 I think has a matte finish, which I'm kind of liking the matte finish because down here you just sweat so much. But anyways, now, so over here, let's see if I can do this, and then I'll. So over here is there we go. So anyways, let's do this. Actually, we're going to zoom in a little bit now because now we're going to be coming in on the bridge section. And this is where I'm going to show you. I can do this. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, I'll use any ball. I'll use 10, regular 10. I like Diodario's. I like Diodario's. The only thing I don't like is all the strings come in the same package. It makes it kind of a little bit of a pain when you're restringing. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll do this. I'll do it string by string. And so what I do here, this is where it gets a little tricky. The idea is this. You see the hole there? Just put this right there. And then let it fall all the way down till you get to that part. See that? Because that's going to help stop it. And then you come here and you take it this way. There. So what that does, you don't have the wraparound threading sticking out there so that when you do this, it doesn't come up and start tearing up the palm of your hand. So here, do that. Now, on my low E string, on the tuning peg, I have the lock, the tuning lock, all the way down. I don't use it. Okay, I'll do this. So what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to do that. Grab the camera. I'm going to show you what I mean by, and it might not be, there. Put a little pencil lead in there. Now some people do it a lot better than I do, so I mean, but I know what works and what doesn't work. And then I always wipe a little bit of that off. Don't have to worry about that. So there. Camera moving too quickly. I don't like doing that. Okay. Oh. So maybe. Okay, we're gonna do this, guys, because I need to show you this up here at the headstock. Okay. So at the headstock, we're gonna do this. We're gonna focus a little bit right there. Watch this, won't focus. Watch this. See? There. We're gonna focus right there. The reason being, these locking tuners. Now I'll lock the other ones, but my low E, I don't. Now, so I always give a little slack here. If you could see that. Well, I give a little slack. Let's do this. Let's go back. Fade out a little bit. Okay. So I give a little slack right here. And then what I'll do is, I got my trusty winder. Well, here I'll do this too. Okay. Got my winder. Everything's old school. Just like it was 1978 all over again. Actually, summer of 1981 was great. Okay, now here we go. So I still have a little wraparound here. I'll always do that because I'm just so used to that, and to me, it naturally will lock itself in. So what I'll do here to clean it up, I take this now. I want to show you something here. Notice on this, if you could see this, it's notched here, and there it's not notched. So I try to use this side kind of close, not too close. I do want a little piece of string sticking out, and it does make it look a little bit neater. It's like a haircut, right? Who needs haircuts? That was there. So again, so I think basically you can probably get the idea how I just do that. I'll always have a little wraparound, even though I got the string locked. Now with these, when I feed the string in, I'll lock it to hold it in place. Pull my string up and then just do like I did here, and then cut the rest of the hangover. Not that I have a hangover, but you get the idea. But I think what we'll do is go back over here to where the ball, the bridge is. And again, it works for me. Everyone has to do what works for them. That's how. Okay. Yeah, see. Okay. I could zoom out a little bit. 10 real quick. Yeah, there. Okay. So now, use my A string. And pop that string through the hole. Come out of the hole. Just like in Jaws, right? A great reenactment. Okay. And you just take your time. Bam. Spin it around. Bring it through. Normally when I'm not videotaping, this doesn't take that long at all, because I could do it really quick. Actually, I could do it quicker without the locking tuners. Because again, that's what we had to do. We didn't have us, back in the day. Again, just grab my winder. I'll try to stretch them too a little bit. Dirty balls, once you stretch out, they stretch out pretty good. I know the Diodarios, once they stretch out, man, they're like really locked in. That is what I do like about those strings. Grab my 026. The 10 gauge goes 046, 036, 026. Then it goes to 017, then 013, and then the 010. I did have 11 gauge on here, which I'm used to the thicker strings. It's the thinner strings that makes my picking hand, it gets too wobbly. But you get used to anything that you practice with the most. Okay. Goes there. I'm surprised I'm not hearing like a little banging at the door, you know? A little kitty hand. I don't call them paws, I call them hands because these guys are like little human beings. They crack me up. Stretch her out a little bit. And how I have the neck rested on, this is a styrofoam from, I want to say that's from the Boss RC300 pedal. That's what's nice about keeping these little styrofoams. If you double them up, they act as a nice neck rest. Now, this, that. What I do like about this guitar, for playing a lot of the jazzier, the jazz fusion and the Latin jazz rock stuff and blues rock stuff, it does have a nice tone. You know, each guitar has its own voicing, and you'll notice that when you start playing different guitars. So this might not work extremely good for like extreme metal. That's fine, because I'm not using it for that. Likewise, a guitar that's used with super hot output pickups would not work too well in the fusion music. Again, and it really does depend on what you hear in your head and how you are applying it too. So I'm not going to just rule it all out. I shouldn't say that, because everything serves a purpose, and each person's own perspective is different. Okay. I'll tell you what, guys, that is why when you play original music, when you're more leaning toward originals than covers, that's where you can really get creative. However, I am not going to devalue the covers, because one thing with the covers is that you will get a variety, even within the genre of music that you're playing mostly. If you're playing mostly classic rock, you are going to get a lot of variety. So therefore, oh, I just heard him. I just heard him out there meowing. So he's getting a little bit pissy. He's not in here, destructing. So yeah, everything will serve the purpose. Okay, see, stretch it out a little bit. You know, everything that I do is because from the experience of doing it. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So this is not the only way of doing this. This is one of the ways, and it's a way that works for me. Okay, that goes there. And finally, I just have my old 13 put on, and then I could just polish her all up and all that good stuff. And usually what I do, I'll tune her up, pull, stretch the strings, strum tune her up, pull the, stretch the strings, and then let it sit overnight. And then the next day, do it again. Because Saturday's gig, yeah, we're back outside at University Villages. So Monday was our final gig at Jungle Bird for the season on our Monday nights. They do still have me play, and they do this with all the musicians. They do rotate the musicians, on Friday or Saturday or whatnot, when it's out of season. And I really don't have a problem with that. I mean, they just remodeled a lot of that place, uh, meaning they spend money on that outdoor bar and the other bar that's inside the like the courtyard in there, the garden courtyard. They got like a garden bar up against the wall. So money was spent, and then again the hurricane, any damages they had to do, repair and insurances. So yeah, it's a lot of places slowly are starting to come back, but it's a very gradual. Excuse me. It's a very gradual process. We were at Yucatan's Saturday, I think we went over there. Excuse me. Or maybe it was Sunday. We went over there. Yeah, I think it was Sunday, and not much. Well, they had put a new seawall because that got damaged pretty bad. They were using that dock area at Yucatan's for like emergency search and rescue, and when they needed to get people off of the island, they were boating them in, and they were using the dock area there. But it did get damaged, so they had to build a new seawall. They did that, and I think I should post a couple of pictures we took. But basically, there's more stuff like materials that was pushed inside the restaurant. It's still gutted out, but they just put more stuff in there. They're gonna finish or start to work on the parking lot over there that they started to work on before the hurricane. But see, everything is a slow process. And part of that is the permits. It's really different. Okay, so I know that's tuned. Stretch this out. Stretch that out. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. No. But see, this method seems to work. Now let me just do this. Okay, I don't have to do that. And simple. Now, if I go a little bit higher in pitch, that's okay because I'm going to stretch it out, stretch it out. You know right where you're going to stop, right where you feel it getting tight when you pull on it. That's where you stop a little bit. Okay, good. Just to get the initial tuning set up. We know that's good. The G string's got to go. See, higher, that's okay. Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, and in, pull it up. Obviously, gotta do more. Not too much more, but. Okay. I know it'll slip a little bit. Yeah, I know that's high. So pull on that. Maybe. Sweet. Okay. Maybe one more pull on that. Now, since having this guitar over the years, I'm starting to get on my 440A on the B string on the 10th fret. When I hold the sustain, it starts to go to the overtone ring. The Ibanez does, the black one, the Ibanez Artist, because that guitar is 40 years old. Me and my friends, we used to call this like the wood compressors. Maybe it does. Maybe that's the wrong terminology, but it definitely changes over the age. And that change, the only thing I can think of, maybe it's like a tighter the pores are getting tight. I don't even know it's, even though it's got, you know, the finish on it, the lacquer, but something definitely happens because I noticed the tone is, and it's not because of the strings or any of the tuning or anything like that or the effects, because I plug into any, even my other amps, and I start to notice certain things. So nothing got changed, it just started to age. So there is a validation in part of how the wood is. And what, no matter what kind of wood it is, as time goes on, it ages. Of course, pickups and electronics have a massive effect on your tone. That's that. Yeah, I won't discredit that. But when the whole debate with the tone woods, that whole debate, it does hold some truth. You'll notice, especially in a hollow body or semi-hollow, and of course on the acoustic guitars. So if it's going to do that with an acoustic guitar, semi-hollow acoustic, or full jazz acoustic guitar, wood is wood. It's going to start to age. It's going to do it on a solid body as well. It's just that in the rock and metal world, we're going to do a lot of high gain or even just a lot of overdrive. It almost gets masked. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but even through that being masked over a course of time, if you could keep one of your guitars and do not change any of the electronics on it if you don't have to, and try to keep that guitar for 5, 10 years, and then try to keep it as long as you can, and you could start to notice certain things. And it's not due to, and try not to, change the gauge strings. I know everyone experiments, but mainly if you don't have to change your electronics, don't. And watch and see what happens. And if you could record, well, I see. But now with social media and YouTube and all that, we are archiving everything as we stream live or do videos or anything like that. So over the course of time, that's a good way to gauge this process. Let's see. I've definitely noticed it. Okay, stretch it a little bit. There we go. Either a chord or you can just do that. A little bit awkward to try to do any flamenco. Now, since I'm doing this, tuning it like this, I'm gonna bring this over here. Some people are not aware of this, especially some of the younger folks. We're gonna do this. Now, we always, if you're tuning by ear or if you use an electronic tuner, when we were using the tuning fork, we would just tune our low E and get that tuned up. With some electronic tuners, you do with the high E, so it doesn't matter. But let's just with the low E. Now I'm just using my thumb here, or actually use my finger. 5th fret, that's A. Oh, hold on. And next string is A. Go down to your A string to tune your D string. Now that note is D, and the 4th string is your D string. Remember how strings are counted too. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you're looking down at your low E, the thick string, and you count that way, you're counting backwards. It would be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyways, let me get back on with this. So 5th fret on the A string for D. Jump down to your D string. 5th fret for G to tune your G string. Now we get into the B string. It's not the 5th fret, it's the 4th fret. See that? Now when we go to tune the high E, now we're back on the 5th fret. The guitar in standard tuning is tuned to what's known as fourths. I got this right. Meaning that your open E is one note. It's not your frets. It's the actual notes. E is note number 1. F is note number 2. G is note number 3. A is note number 4. So this string, to tune it, to tune your A string, that would be your A once you get the string tuned. And that's tuned. Now when you come here to check your D string, you tune that would be D, and that's also known as fourths because open is A, 2nd fret is B, 3rd fret C, 5th fret is A. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notes, not your frets. The same thing with D on your D string when you go to tune your G note, your G string. You playing your G note on D. Right? Open D is 1, E 2, F 3, G 4. Now, this is where it changes. When you're going to tune your B string, and let's say you got your G already tuned up, so you're going to play your B note on the 4th fret, and you want to tune your 2nd string B to make sure it's tuned. If your G is tuned, G string's tuned, this is what you got to do. It's going to be tuned in what's known as thirds, meaning G is open, 2nd fret is A, 4th fret is B. So it's the number of notes you got. G is 1, A is 2, B is 3. So that's why you go to your 4th fret. I know these numbers are real crazy, but that note happens to be on the 4th fret. Now, to tune your high E, you got your B string tuned up, and I want to tune your high E. You go back on the 5th fret on your B string. That's E, open E. Again, this is known now as tuning in fourths because we have open B, C, D, and E. Open 1, C2, D3, and E4. All the number systems sometimes can be very confusing and that. But I'm going to tell you, once you know all your notes on the fretboard, you won't get confused. It's just a longer way of communicating to people. But trust me, you'll know exactly if they throw a chord at you that you don't know the formula and you feel a little embarrassed or something, it doesn't mean you don't know how to play. It doesn't mean that you can't figure it out. It means you're just doing it differently. Because when you have to, for instance, when I did a lot of self-studying in classical guitar, you're reading notation. And some of them will have the tablature, but you're reading notation. And if you ever, bought the old Mel Bay books back in the day as a little kid, they show you all these positions. It's normally in this position right here, but you're looking at notes. You're not saying, okay, this is the third degree of that, this is the fourth degree of that, the fifth degree of that. You're not looking at it that way. You're actually looking at notes, and then you're constantly playing those same notes over and over again. And what happens is that method, or at least for me, got so embedded in my mind that that's why I think the way I think. I think in terms of notation, notes, names of notes, not formulas. And I know that formulas could be, quick, for the sake of communication. But I'll never forget when I was playing with actually a couple of keyboard players and one violinist at the Renaissance Fair. He and these people were educated. They had college degrees, music degrees, and everything, and they could not. I've got no degree, and they couldn't figure out how I'm able to figure things out. But it's to them, it was like a foreign language. And I'm not knocking them because when you're in school, you got to study that curriculum that way because you got to pass their tests. So hey, do the things you need to do to get your degree and study so you pass those tests. Absolutely. But when you get in the real working world, keep in mind you're going to run into musicians that don't know music theory, but they're some of the best players that are out there. And some people could argue that and say, well, how could they be the best players? They simply are. Just listen to that term. They're players. They a lot of them will play with so much emotion and expression. It's just unreal. And if you get so caught up in over analyzing some of what the things we do in the improvisation world from the theoretic world does not make sense. It should not fit. From the theory and the formulas, it doesn't seem like it fits. But when you're listening to it, you could hear it. It fits perfect. Part of it is how a person phrases, with bending the string and things that nature. Um, See, that's why it's called music theory, not music fact. And I'm not trying to knock it, but there are certain things. I'll never forget, living back in Chicago and getting together with some of the blues musicians and the jam sessions. If they understood up to the fifth fret that was A, they knew E, maybe F, G, and that's okay. That's A. I think that's B, or somewhere down here is B. That was the extent to their knowledge in theory. But man, when they played, they always told a story with their instrument. That's magic right there. Well, it's actually, to me, I call it a gift. You're born with this, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but you could tell when someone picks up an instrument, or better yet, because the guitar or any string instrument can be challenging because you got to get the mechanics of the fingers, strength pushing the strings down and that. But even if you get someone that sits down at a keyboard or a piano and they start fiddling around, all they know is they see a bunch of white keys and a bunch of black keys. That's all they see. But they just sit down and they mess around and you start messing around, and next thing you know, if you close your eyes, it sounds like they're making music, and they have no clue theoretically what they're doing. They don't even know the name of the notes. Now, how is that explained? How do you explain that? It's because it's something they have within, and it doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. It just means that is the gift that you have, and I know it doesn't really sit too well with some of the people that's out there because sometimes they don't like to hear that, but it is a fact. And actually, we're working on putting a program together, a lesson program. I'm gonna be shooting some of the videos, especially over the summer because I'll have some time off. Um, that is going to be that's going to help people to play the guitar with limited abilities that they have. You do not have to be a supersonic shredder or anything like that to make music. But I can't reveal this method yet because we're still in the process of writing it down. But it's sometimes certain things that are so easy they get overlooked, and it's not that difficult, but it doesn't fit a certain narrative. You know what I mean? A certain criteria, And it's like, oh my God, why didn't I even think about that? Because think about how many people you know, they'd like to be able to play the guitar or keyboard, but since I'm a guitarist, it'll be, a guitar lesson. They would like to be able to play, but they feel like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to do this. I'll never be able to do that. And then they start believing that. You might not be able to do something that's exactly like somebody else, but doesn't mean you still won't be able to make music. You know, that's like when I see people that are impersonators. They could get dangerously close. I mean, to the point where you close your eyes, it's like, geez, I can't tell if that's that person or not. Is it Carlos Santana or is not, or is it Neil Diamond or is not, or you know Karen Carpenter or not? Until you sit and you listen to them A B, or back to back, side by side, then you can start to hear the difference. Okay, yeah, now I can hear the difference. It's like if you buy any of these high end amp modelers, and where it's the Fractal, which is pretty impressive. I guess we'll give it that. Definitely impressive. I'll take that one because when I heard some of the Marshall, the Plexi Marshall and the Super Lead and the Massive Volume Marshall amp sims in there, it was like pretty impressive, man. When I had the headphones on, it's almost like you could feel the amp. But if you take that same, like of the FM9, I think the FM9 is the newest foot pedal. Um, and I think that goes for like $2,800. It's expensive. It's more expensive than a Helix. But if you put it right next to an actual Marshall, it'll sound, yeah, dangerously close, but there will be certain things you will be able to tell because now you got the actual amplifier, to compare it to. But yeah, so what my point is that you could get dangerously close to sounding like somebody, but you'll never sound exactly like them. So how do you start to take your influences, which we all have our influences, and then start to branch off and start to develop your own uniqueness? And a lot of that is real simple. You just simply experiment. You're gonna hit wrong notes. You're gonna make mistakes. Don't do it out in the public. But if you do it out in the public, don't announce the mistakes. And I'm not trying to use this as an excuse to be a hack or anything like that. What I'm saying is that a true improvisation is you get to hit territories you never really hit before. That really is the true improvisation. But you could still improvise around things that you're familiar with and take that to either a new combination of notes or new tempos or new phrasing, maybe new dynamics. All these things, they matter. If a person doesn't understand the term dynamics is just simply how hard are you hitting that string and how loud and how soft are the notes coming out. All that makes a huge difference. Huge difference. And then of course the gear you use, everything out there, it serves a purpose. Always remember that. But anyways, yeah, this method of wrapping around do the wrap around on the bridge, it does work for me, and I was never a really big fan of it, to be honest with you. I think part of it is because it doesn't look right. You know what I mean? It's like, why don't you just go through here, man? When I used to see people do this, I'm like, man, I just go through here. Well, and it's good to it's all practical. How it works for you. For me, it's been helping me avoiding breaking strings, even when I do my syncopated and funky, rhythms. And even if I'm doing heavy palm, well, if I'm doing heavy palm muting and a lot of metal, it's going to be more on the lower end strings. So that's not too much of an issue. It's always on the trebles that something happens. So, yeah, guys, I hope this does help. And you get, when you do this, let me see, I could zoom in a little bit on this. You'll see a little bit of the actual ball end from the string, not the extra ball end I put in. You'll see them stick out a little bit here. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, zoomed in all right. Oh, my battery's at 15%. Here we go. Okay, sorry guys, I gotta do like this. Where are we at here? Yeah, that's it, I think. Yeah. All right, there. It's a perfect angle to see it. So see, you'll see them stick out a little bit, but it works. It really does work for me. And always do the things that work for you. You know, you're the one that's playing it. If I do this, do that. There we go. So, anyways, my friends, I hope that has helped. I'm gonna have to do a rewatch. I see some names popping up and then they just fade away real quick. And I think it's maybe the way I got this setting on my phone. That's why Deb, she'll have her phone, and when I'm doing the live gig, she'll. Part of it is because I'm playing, and I can't really see. But the other part is, even like right now, then even when I touch the screen, yeah, see, nothing's the names are not coming back up. So I apologize if I'm not, you know, shouting out to anybody that's out there by name. Um, is that Old Man Dan? Ah, there we go. Old Man Dan, what is happening, brother? I'm so glad that you got your short, Old Man Dan shorts. You a Bumble Bus. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I'm glad that you're continuing on, Dan. I sorry I know I've been absent for a while. It's just we got so much going on. You know, we're still in our recovery. It's getting better, and you know, going over new material and writing stuff as well, and things of that nature. It's all time consuming, you know. But I'm glad you just keep doing what you do. You know, never let anyone dictate to you. You know, it's always your life. Always remember this. You know, I see these videos pop up, and this is the only reason why I'm going to mention this. I see now again more of these videos popping up, and I guess it's cool to help those who are so into social media. They want to make their channels grow. They want this, that, and the other. It is a cool concept. I will give it that. You know. Uh, However, we do know that there's certain bias that's out there, and that's real sad that this happens. But always remember one thing: if you like what you're doing, and your intention is not to hurt anybody or anything like that, never let that bother you. Because you see, it's not going to be you; it's going to be those people that want to be negative towards you. I think they're the ones with the issues, and that's sad because if they would spend the time that they spend with all the negativity, they could be creative just as well. You know, that's the sad thing. But my point is that if you see like your numbers are low or your views are low, I never worry about that with my channel. I appreciate everybody that comes to my channel that has supported us and subscribed to us and give us the views. I really do. It's to the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all that. But all that negativity that people I know that, and I know they're out there. I know some of them who they are, and I just don't mention names. I just let them be who they are, because they're exposing themselves, and that's the sad thing. Because deep down, maybe they're lonely or something. I really don't know. Um, but once you start, I think what happens is, well, here I'm explaining two ways. Once you start just really putting your whole heart and soul and your mind into what your work is, whether it's playing or work, whatever it is, you get so occupied mentally that you start forgetting about the other stuff. You know. The other thing is, after with the hurricane hit down here, is that we were 10 days without power and out without any connection, and then I had like almost a month where the connection was very spotty on my phone. So yeah, part of me kind of was missing the social media thing, but there was another part that was starting to really hit me very strong, where I was able to get more creative with the music again because I didn't have any distractions. And I started to realize even more so during the hurricane that when I had my other channel, I didn't know about comments or how to respond to that. I didn't know any of that, so I just didn't because of my own ignorance. But I didn't. Nothing really bothered me because I was not aware of all that. And I think what happens when you let go of certain things like that, it frees you up, and next thing you know, you start focusing on the things that really matter to you, and you start hitting that hard, and you move forward with that. That's all. But I do apologize that I've been absent on some of you guys' channels, and I do, like I say, I apologize. I know over the summer we're gonna have a lot more time, but again, I gotta use that time wisely with more of these online lessons and other things I can't talk about right now until when we get there. They'll have to get on our website for those um, recording sessions and stuff like that. But Anyways, so yeah, this does help me. Again, do the things that are gonna help you. You know, if this doesn't work, hey, you don't again do what works for you. You always be my friends. I don't take none of that personally. Um, so, anyways, my friends, I hope this helps. And I know Saturday, I think we're playing 6 to 9. I can't remember, but we'll be streaming that live at University Villages, markets and villages. I think between now and then, I'll be going over a lot more of the material and see if I could get more stuff recorded into the loop pedals and that. So, anyways, my friends, I hope this has been helpful, and we will see you definitely Saturday evening, and we'll set the post up and everything. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your week. Stay strong, safe, and true, my friends. Rock on, and God bless. Take care.